Steve Bannon gets 4 months behind bars for defying the January 6 committee subpoena. Steve Bannon, a longtime ally of former President Donald Trump, was sentenced on Friday to serve 4 months behind bars after defying a subpoena from the House committee investigating the January 6 riots at the United States Capitol. The British pound pares losses amid political uncertainty and Liz Truss's resignation. The British pound pared losses late Friday after earlier wiping out the moderate gains it made following the resignation of Prime Minister Liz Truss. Sterling was up by 0.5% at 5 p.m. London time against the dollar after some weakness from the greenback. The U.S. shuts down claim that Iran seized 2 underwater drones in the Red Sea. The United States has denied claims that Iran has seized 2 of its underwater drones. Iranian Naval Commander Shahram Irani claimed, quote, safety of navigation was compromised while the 84th Operational Intelligence Combat Group returned from an 86-day mission in open and international waters, according to the Fars news agency. Will Boris Johnson make a comeback? The race is on to be Britain's next prime minister, and as an American observer, personally, I'm rooting for the lettuce. After the chaos of Liz Truss's historically short stint as prime minister, Britain faced a new problem on Friday. Who next? Boris Johnson, the former leader and populist of the Brexit cheerleader who resigned under intense pressure after a long series of scandals, has emerged as an unlikely candidate to stage a dramatic comeback. Landscapers find car buried decades ago in the yard of a San Francisco Bay Area home. A car was found buried Thursday in the yard of a home in an affluent town of Atherton, which is in the San Francisco Bay Area, authorities said. Landscapers working in the yard discovered the car around 8:50 a.m. It had been buried below 4 to 5 feet of dirt and was thought to have been there since the 1990s, police said. How it got there and why it was there was under investigation. The vehicle was being excavated on Thursday. Russian and Ukrainian troops grid for major battle in Kherson. Russian and Ukrainian troops appeared Thursday to be girding for a major battle over the strategic southern industrial port city of Kherson, in a region which Russian President Vladimir Putin has illegally annexed and subjected to martial law. Fighting and evacuations were reported in the Kherson region as Moscow tried to pound the invaded country into submission with more missile and drone attacks on critical infrastructure. The Kremlin says that the truth behind the Nord Stream pipeline blast would surprise Europeans. The Kremlin said on Friday that the truth behind last month's explosions on the Nord Stream gas pipelines would surprise many Europeans if it were to be made public. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Moscow is working intensely to be included in an international probe, which Russia has previously said is tailored against it. Chinese diplomat says pulling the hair of a Hong Kong protester was his duty. A Chinese diplomat who was filmed pulling the hair of a Hong Kong pro-democracy protester on the grounds of the Chinese consulate in Manchester, England, has defended his actions, saying it was his duty to maintain China's dignity. Security forces kill at least 60 as protest engulf Chad. Chilean security forces opened fire on anti-government demonstrators in the country's 2 largest cities on Thursday, killing at least 60 people, the government spokesman and morgue official said. Thursday's unrest was kind of unprecedented in Chad, which saw little public dissent during the previous regime of Debbie's father, who ruled for more than 3 decades until his assassination last year. Pakistan Election Commission disqualifies former Prime Minister Imran Khan. Pakistan's Election Commission, in a unanimous decision, has found former Prime Minister Imran Khan guilty of corrupt practices and disqualified him from being a member of parliament. Khan's Pakistan Party immediately rejected Friday's ruling and called on supporters to take to the streets. 10 Iranians killed in Ukrainian strikes, according to a report. 10 Iranians who were training Russian soldiers were killed in Ukrainian strikes in the Russia-Ukraine war in the past week. This is according to a Ukrainian official who told KAN News on Friday. The report comes as American and Ukrainian officials warn that Iranians are training Russians to use Iranian drones in the Crimea. U.S. Defense Secretary speaks with Russian counterpart as war in Ukraine enters its 9th month. The United States Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin spoke with his Russian counterpart Friday morning, the second known call since the Kremlin's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in late February. Pentagon Press Secretary Air Force Brigadier General Pat Ryder said Austin spoke with Russian Ministry of Defense Sergei Shoigu by phone. The Kremlin also confirmed the call in a separate readout. GOP fires warning shot at the IRS. Destruction of taxpayer filings is ripe for congressional oversight. Republicans on the House Ways and Means Committee asked the IRS this week to keep all documents related to its 2021 decision to destroy millions of taxpayer filings and indicated a deeper congressional inquiry is coming if Republicans take control of the House. Mars rover Curiosity reaches sulfate-rich Mount Sharp after a 10-year journey. NASA's long-serving Curiosity rover has finally reached an objective it has been aiming toward since landing on the red planet nearly a decade ago, the sulfate-bearing unit of Mount Sharp. A 5.1 magnitude earthquake jolts Fukushima, no issues at nearby nuclear plants. A strong earthquake with an estimated magnitude of 5.1 jolted northeastern Japan on Friday afternoon. The earthquake was revised downward, occurred at a depth of about 30 kilometers off the coast of Fukushima Prefecture around 3:19 p.m. local time, according to the meteorological agency. Ohio youth football coach killed in front of his own players. A youth football coach was shot and killed in front of his players shortly after practice outside the College Hill Recreational Facility in Cincinnati, Ohio. His nickname was King Maine, his name was Jermaine Knox, and he coached the Trojan Black team. A memorial vigil was hosted on Wednesday where the community members honored him as a man dedicated to the kids he coached. A strong 6.7 magnitude earthquake shakes western Panama. A strong 6.7 magnitude earthquake shook western Panama early on Thursday, though there were no initial reports of any type of damage. Panama's National Civil Defense Agency said via Twitter that the earthquake was felt in Herrera, Bocas del Toro, and western Panama. PG&E customers in 13 California counties could have power shutoff this weekend. Pacific Gas and Electric Company may shut off power this weekend for customers in 13 California counties across Northern California and the Bay Area, citing wildfire risk. 2 tribal communities could also see shutoffs. If PG&E issues its public safety power shutoffs, it would be from Saturday morning through Monday, the utility said. NASA orders 3 more Orion crew capsules for Artemis moon missions. NASA continues to lay out its crewed moon plans. The space agency has ordered 3 more Orion crew capsules from aerospace giant Lockheed Martin in a deal worth almost $2 billion. The spacecraft will be used for NASA's Artemis moon program, specifically Artemis missions 6 through 8. Tribal clashes in Sudan leave 170 dead in 2 days. Tribal clashes in Sudan's southern province of Blue Nile have killed 170 people over the past of 2 days, 2 Sudanese officials said on Thursday, the latest in intercommunal violence across the country's neglected south region. Iran warns citizens to leave Ukraine after the United States accuses it of aiding Russia in the war. Iran on Friday urged its citizens inside Ukraine to leave the country and warned against travel to the war-torn nation one day after the United States accused Tehran of aiding Russia's war effort. The ministry did not mention comments made on Thursday by White House National Security spokesman John Kirby, who said the United States had learned that Iranian troops were, quote, directly engaged on the ground in Crimea, helping Russian forces.